I'm going to do a quick presentation on how to use Brightspace, which is the interface SAS Poly uses for its distance learning. So if we take a look here, we can click on this top nine squares. These are the different classes that you're registered in. So if you want to flip between your classes, sending emails, messages, so there'll be an orange dot if there's a new message, and then for alerts, could be a message, could be your mark, it could be an update to the news, which would be the most common thing. The front page, other than that, is your different tabs. So content is how you get to the main course. Assessments is like your tests and your papers and assignments like that. Sorry, not tests, quizzes. And then communication will be, the discussions will be the big one, and then the news. And then the news really quickly is also displayed on the front page here. So if you just go back into this page, all the news from the course will be posted on here. One thing that's new for these courses in the news is an outline of when the assignments are due. And we'll just go to a different view so it's easier to see. So this course started September 20th. So all the assignments and the discussions are open then. The midterms opens October 22nd and then closes October 29th. So there's a whole week to do that. Same with the final exam. There's a week. So it opens up on the Friday and then closes on a Friday. The most of the assignments are due on a Monday. The only reason why this one is not this case is because there's a midterm that week. So made the midterm due before the final, or before the midterm starts, sorry. And then kind of how it works is initial post. So we have the initial post is your answer to introduce yourself in this case, and then you talk about yourself. Is due on the Monday, and then on the Friday is where you respond to classmates. And then the same, you answer the question for leadership styles on the Monday, and then by Friday you have to respond to 2 classmates. And that's kind of how the discussions work. While I'm talking about discussions, we'll just go back into that. So the communication, discussions. So you click on this, and I'm just going to switch myself to view as a student. Switched out of that. And so again, communication, discussions, go in, and then here is a question, create a post using this, and then the 3 stages of socialization. And then so you post that, and then you respond to 2 classmates on the Friday, and that's kind of how discussions go. And then the rules for it are always in the discussion as well, but it's the Monday initial post due at midnight, Friday the response. Other things, assessments, Dropbox is where you the rubric often will be in here, and rubric, if you're out of school for a while, is just kind of how your assignment will be marked, and it's kind of how the marks will be allotted in that assignment. Also, the rubrics can be found in the rubrics tab, so it'll say what's there. Class progress. The big note here is to see where you're at in the course. So I've completed 96% of this course of the readings. It also tracks your time spent. This is not a realistic time spent. I read all the contents of the course before it started, so this number is much lower than it would be for a student. Discussions, it says how many times you responded to things, your quizzes, your checklists, and all this kind of goes. And your instructor has access to this, so they can see where you are in the course, and they also can see how much time you spent on the course. So they might email you about if things are going really well or not going very well at all. They might tell you where you're supposed to be in regards to that. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. and grades. So all the marks for this course. As I'm an instructor, I don't have any marks for this course. So, those would be probably the big ones. Quizzes. So for this semester, we have open book quizzes. This is how you access it. Go into here. So it's only open for a certain period of time. This actually has a practice quiz in it before the midterm. And then we have an open book quiz here and there, and they're only open for this period of time. Be right on there. Next big thing is content. So students read me first. So you go through course information. So this course is 60 hours. It's a 10-week long course. Kind of how this flows is every week of the course is another learning outcome. So by the end of the first week, you should be done learning outcome 1. End of week 2, done learning outcome 2, and you just keep rolling that way. And then in 10 weeks, which sounds like a lot, the first week, oh, you're already behind. That's not very good, right? So I always like to think of it, and it's kind of cliche, is day 1 or 1 day, right? Like how you start it. So if the very first day you start working through it, it really isn't overwhelming. Where if you put it off for a week or 2, now you're like 14 days behind. You're actually starting to get into like a lot of text behind. So my free advice is pick a time each day to do some of it, and that cumulatively over 10 weeks will easily finish the course, versus if you're putting it off every week, even like, okay, I'll catch up on a Saturday. Now you have like 8 hours of readings to do on a Saturday. Like, what's your retention of that? The big thing about the safety program is if you're taking this, like, you probably want to get a designation at some point, probably. So you need to write a test and know this material at that point. Or if you're working in industry, your employer wants you to know this material. So it's not like you cramming is a great solution for that, because you want to actually know this information after you graduate from the program. So I kind of went off on a motivational speech there. Instructor information. So their phone number, the working hours, and then the email. Little brief synopsis about where the instructors worked. So this course is an electronic textbook. It's the only course that has that, so that your instructor will have to give you a code to access that. And then the big one, student handbook is there, and then the required assignment of formatting. There's an additional video on how to format references that's in the instructor might share with you. But it is in this document. So it's a modified APA style. And the big things to take away from it are double space, Times New Roman 12. You got to have a title page. If you use a reference, you have to reference it. The big things in the course that you'll be using a lot of are the Saskatchewan Employment Act and the Saskatchewan regulations, which you'll get familiar with in the law course. Then the formatting template. So this actually has an example assignment in it. So it says how to do the title page. How we like it formatted, and then the references at the back end, and with the sample one. So yeah, if you've been out of school for a while and haven't written a paper, this is a really good resource to go through and get some ideas on how to format your paper correctly. So we'll get into the actual course, and this is that 1 day versus day 1 thing. Learning outcomes. Examine organizational structure and behavior. Step 1. So click this, and starts going through. So he talks about discussion number 1, and the stuff will be on the first midterm quiz. Talks about the midterm quiz, and then you just start working through it. And you click the hyperlinks. Each one has a page that opens. It's reading the text. Tells you where it's getting the information from, so you can read the textbook in that section. And then like graphics, not interactive. Try and flip through to find some interactive stuff in the course. These are required readings, so click on it. Web pages open up that are related to the subject at hand. So just clicking the hyperlinks, going through the pages, reading it, and then this material will be on the midterm, final exam, depending on the course, and then it'll also be required to write like the papers. So like the papers in the courses aren't just like random stuff, like factoids. It's actually, if you read the material and then do the assignment, it's going into your long-term memory as you learn how to apply the material. So again, just going through, all the hyperlinks are the blue. Just click it, and then a web page opens up. So again, like organizational structure opens up with that. I'm gonna show some stuff here. Just flipping through. So you can see that, like, if you're reading all the web pages and the textbook and all the required readings, so these are some things where if you click it, it starts opening up. If you sit down and read chapter 13 as you're working through the website, it's going to take a while. Like you can't easily catch up in a day, the whole course, and actually retain the information. They're just going through, like, this is what I'm actually looking for. So there's interactive things like this. So after you've read the material, you can test it and see, and then check your answer. Then after you finish it, let's say you're like, where was that? I think that might be on the midterm. You can go back to content, and you actually can search topics, and you can go back to the HTML that way. So if you remember something, you're like, oh, I remember that. That'll be good for the paper. Then you can find that. The last thing I'll show is a preference I have for students and instructors is if you add a photo of yourself, or even just a sign or something, just so it's something different instead of just a generic box. I mean, in LinkedIn or something else, you include a photo, so it's a time to differentiate yourself from other people. Last point, this presentation is if you have concerns, contact your instructor as soon as possible. If you have questions, contact your instructor as soon as possible. The biggest thing I found from taking this program was stay on top of the readings, as I droned on, I think, before, is 1 learning outcome per week. If you stay on top of it, it is manageable. If you fall behind, it becomes very difficult to stay caught up and retain the information for future employment. Thanks for your time.